At Brunner, we put data and analytics at the center of everything that we do, from traditional and digital media all the way through strategy and tactical execution. But the important thing is that we interact with organizations that have varying degrees of data and analytics maturity. And that's what we're going to talk about here today. There are really three major components of data and analytics maturity. First of all, there's data, kind of the lifeblood and the oil of the entire process. Secondly, there's analytics. Those are things such as machine learning as well as reporting, the generation of insights for an organization. And then finally, kind of the third leg of the stool is the organization itself, the implementation and the processes through which data and analytics come together to drive the success of an organization. All three of these things are important. And so you can see that without any one of these particular elements of the data and analytics maturity, the organization is less capable of competing and being successful. Let's first of all look at our overall framework. As you can see, there are those three elements, data, analytics, and organization running down the left. That's what we would refer to as the depth of the analytics maturity. Secondly, you would see up at the top something we call the breadth of your analytics and data maturity. First of all, focus up on the top, the breadth of services. You, of course, have that data and organization. Those are kind of the ultimate foundation for data and analytics maturity. What data and technical resources do you have? Is data being captured? Is it being made accessible? Is it being pushed throughout the organization? Is the organization using it? Secondly, you have reporting. This is trying to make sense of the data that exists. Is it accessible? Is it capable of being used for decisions? Third, we have segmentation. This represents trying to make insights and understanding about the data. What markets or customers are the most important ones to your organization? Fourth, we have testing and predicting. This is the stage of trying to figure out why patterns exist in your data. And once you understand why something exists, you can make predictions about them. Finally, across the top, we have optimization. So optimization is using those predictions in order to make very smart decisions. So these represent the breadth of the elements of data and analytics maturity. Each one of these, when I listed some of those questions, it had to do with kind of the different data and analytics and organizational kind of implementation of that. And so you can see now that if you cross the breadth of those analytic capabilities with the depth that we mentioned earlier in terms of the data, in terms of the analytics, and in terms of the organization, you get the full spectrum of the data and analytics maturity matrix that we think and use here at Brunner. If we're talking about data and the maturity there, we're talking about how much data is available. Is it moving and updated fast? Does it come from a variety of sources? Kind of the classic 3 V's of big data: variety, volume, and velocity. Secondly, if you look at data in terms of analytics, you can even think about analytics in terms of its application to data. So are you taking unstructured data and making it structured? And then finally, if you think about data in terms of the organization, is the data have a culture of gathering that data, of asking questions that are based on data, and those sorts of things. So each one of these components across the top, the breadth of data and analytics maturity, has this depth component to it. And it really has to do with, the amount of data, the speed at which data and analytics occurs, and how the organization uses it. And additionally, what you have is a situation in which these are kind of components which build upon one another. This is a very kind of an intimidating thing. And we know that moving from an organization that gathers very little data to one that gathers a lot of data, that starts to introduce reporting and predictive analytics and optimization, and speeding those up and using those throughout the organization, it can be a very kind of intimidating sort of thing. What we have here is kind of a situation where organizations are dreaming. We use this framework on the slide here that has you're on this kind of plateau of mediocrity, where you kind of realize recognize that data and analytics is important, but you want to go way up to the right, to this kind of unrealized mountain of hopes and dreams, where data is fast and comprehensive and analytics is infused throughout the organization. And that's a big leap. And what typically happens there is that many organizations try to kind of come up with a large solution, a very kind of comprehensive solution, oftentimes very expensive. And what happens as a consequence of that is that they fail. They fail because data is siloed, the organization is fragmented and doesn't have kind of a core vision. There's lots of different reasons for organizations to fail in their journey from becoming kind of this mediocre standpoint, this mediocre situation, to this more advanced kind of mountain of very advanced data and analytics. And you can see that there's, kind of in this graphic, we have like skeletons laying at the bottom of the valley. And those are kind of failed initiatives. And what we believe here at Brunner is that taking kind of a big leap, oftentimes with very expensive solutions and consultants and so on, is not the appropriate way to go about things. Rather, as shown in this particular graphic, is that the journey kind of to data and analytics maturity should occur in a very kind of stepwise and systematic fashion. First of all, you should focus on your data, getting access to your data, organizing your data. Secondly, reporting on your data. That kind of proves that you have access to it if you can report on it, and those reports are updated frequently. Third, focus on generating segments and organizing your data and coming up with insights that the organization can use. Looking at predictions, looking at forecasting and predicting what will happen in conjunction with the final step, which is optimization, which is using those predictions. These should occur in kind of a stepwise fashion. And as you go from kind of a data-rich organization to an organization which is more report-driven, insights-driven, and model-driven, you'll actually achieve the journey to data and analytics maturity.